Let me tell you something that most people miss, and it's costing them their peace, their power, and sometimes even their future. We live in a world that celebrates oversharing. Social media, conversations, even job interviews, everyone's out here spilling everything. But here's the truth. The smartest, most grounded, and most powerful people, they don't do that. They move in silence. They protect certain things like their life depends on it, because sometimes it actually does. And if you want to level up in your mindset, in your relationships, in how people see you and how you feel about yourself, then you better learn what not to say just as much as what to say. So today we're talking about the 3 things a wise person always hides, not out of fear, out of strength. Let's go. There's a quiet kind of power in keeping your personal goals to yourself. In a world where people are constantly posting their plans, announcing their resolutions, and broadcasting every move before they've even taken the first step, a wise person does the opposite. They don't overshare. They don't make noise because they understand something most people don't. Talking about your goals too early can actually weaken your drive to achieve them. Think about the last time you told someone about a big goal. Maybe it was to start a business, lose weight, move to a new city, write a book, or finally quit a job that's been draining you. The moment you shared it, how did it feel? You probably got a rush of excitement. Maybe they complimented your ambition. Maybe they praised you for being bold. That moment of external validation felt good, right? But here's the catch. That feeling is deceptive. When you talk about your goals and people applaud you for them before you've done anything real, your brain starts to believe you've already accomplished something. Psychologists call it a premature sense of completeness. That dopamine hit makes you feel like you've already won, which actually kills the urgency to take real action. And that's the trap. A wise person doesn't fall into that trap. They know that the early stages of any meaningful goal are fragile. It's a seed, not a tree. It needs protection, not exposure. Sharing it with everyone, especially people who don't understand your vision, is like planting a seed and then leaving it out in the storm, hoping it'll still grow. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to your inner fire. Some people, when they hear your goals, will respond with subtle doubt. They'll question your timing. They'll poke holes in your plan, not always out of malice, but because they don't see what you see. They don't carry your vision. And that doubt, even when it's politely disguised, it sticks. It creates resistance. It makes you second guess yourself. And worst of all, it can water down your focus. Here's another reason to stay silent. People will hold you accountable to the version of you that exists right now, not the version you're trying to become. If you've always been the quiet one, the unsure one, or the person who never finishes things, and you suddenly announce that you're going to do something big, chances are they won't believe you. They'll smile, maybe even nod, but underneath they're thinking, we'll see. That unspoken doubt plants seeds of self-doubt in you. Wise people know that growth often requires isolation, not loneliness, intentional isolation. A season where you work behind the scenes, where you're building, learning, failing, and trying again, and no one knows but you. Because the truth is, your goals don't need approval. They need execution. And execution thrives in silence. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean you never tell anyone your goals. It means you tell the right people at the right time. You choose people who have earned the right to hear your dreams. Mentors, close allies, trusted friends. People who can give you guidance, not gossip. People who will hold you accountable with love, not with low expectations. You also protect your goals because you're still figuring them out. Early on, you don't have all the answers. You're experimenting, adjusting, learning what works and what doesn't. When you keep that process private, it gives you the freedom to fail without the pressure of performing for others. That's important because failure in private builds resilience. Failure in public, especially when people are watching for you to mess up, can lead to embarrassment, shame, and sometimes even quitting too soon. And let's not forget, some people will try to steal your ideas. It's rare, but it happens. You share a creative spark with the wrong person, and suddenly they're running with it before you even get a chance. A wise person knows that some dreams need to be guarded, not out of paranoia, but out of wisdom, because your vision is yours for a reason. It came to you, and protecting it doesn't make you selfish, it makes you strategic. Ultimately, keeping your goals to yourself is an act of self-respect. It says, I believe in this enough to protect it. It's a declaration of seriousness. It's about not needing a cheer squad to move forward. It's about building discipline in silence so that one day the results can speak louder than any announcement ever could. There's a moment that happens when someone who's been working in silence finally steps out and reveals what they've been building, the business they launched, the transformation they went through, the book they wrote, the idea they made real, and everyone else is shocked. They ask, when did you even do this? And the answer is simple, while you were talking about it, I was doing it. That's the mindset of a wise person. They don't seek applause. They seek progress. They let their actions make the noise because they understand that real success isn't built on declarations. It's built on discipline, patience and quiet, relentless work. So keep your goals close, guard them like treasure, speak less, do more. That's how you win. Everyone is going through something, but not everyone broadcasts it. And that's not because they're fake or hiding or pretending to be perfect. No, it's because they're wise. They understand something powerful. Your private struggles aren't meant for public consumption. Not everyone can handle your truth. Not everyone should be invited into your pain. In a time where vulnerability is often confused with oversharing, we've been conditioned to believe that if we're not posting every breakdown, every bad day, every painful moment, then we're being inauthentic. That's a lie. Wisdom knows the difference between being real and being reckless with your emotions. Being vulnerable doesn't mean putting your wounds on display for anyone who will look. It means choosing who gets to see what and when. See, when you're in the middle of a struggle, whether it's emotional, financial, mental, spiritual, or something else, you're not operating at full strength. You're figuring things out. You're trying to stay afloat. That's not the time to be explaining yourself to people who don't understand, don't care, or worse, will use your vulnerability against you. A wise person knows that there is danger in exposing your rawness too early. When you're struggling, your thoughts aren't always clear. Your emotions might be loud. Your energy is fragile. And sharing all of that too soon can invite criticism that you're not ready to handle. You end up defending yourself instead of healing. You spend energy explaining instead of recovering. And let's be honest, not everyone who listens actually cares. Some people are curious, not compassionate. They want to know what's wrong with you, not so they can help, but so they can feel better about themselves. Some will even pretend to support you while quietly judging you. They'll say things like, "I'm here for you," but the second you turn around, they're whispering about your situation like it's entertainment. A wise person sees this and protects themselves from it. There's also this: sharing your private struggles too widely can change how people see you permanently. You might move past your pain, heal, grow, and become stronger, but they'll still see you as the person who broke down, the one who couldn't handle it, the one who was struggling. People are quick to label you by your lowest moment if you give them the chance. And even if you bounce back, they'll often remember who you were instead of who you've become. So instead of going public, a wise person builds a safe space. That might be one trusted friend, a mentor, a therapist, a journal, a quiet walk in nature. They go inward, not outward. They let themselves process without a crowd watching. And it's not because they're ashamed, it's because they're smart enough to know that healing needs privacy. You don't owe the world your breakdowns. You don't need to post your pain to prove that you're human. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is suffer in silence, not because you're bottling things up, but because you're protecting your energy while you're rebuilding. That silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom, it's survival, it's focus. There's also power in not letting people know what's hurting you. When others can't see where you're wounded, they can't aim for those spots. Life has enough battles without giving people a map to your vulnerabilities. A wise person knows that silence isn't just healing, it's armor. And let's not forget, struggles are temporary. They don't define you, they pass. But when you put them out there, they become part of your identity in the eyes of others. That job you lost, that relationship that fell apart, that mental health spiral, that addiction, that bad decision, if you expose it at the wrong time, people may attach it to you permanently, even long after you've grown from it. You move on, but they remember. That's not fair, but it's real. And the wise protect themselves from being misjudged during a season they were never meant to stay in. This doesn't mean you never speak about your struggles. It means you speak from scars, not wounds. You talk about it when you've processed it, learn from it, and can offer something valuable from the experience. That's when your story becomes strength, not just for you, but for others. But sharing too early, that's not helping anyone. It's just handing your pain over to people who may not deserve it. A wise person knows that struggles are sacred. They're messy, raw, and deeply personal. They require reflection, not reaction. They demand solitude, not spotlight. And in that silence, in that private space, something powerful happens: growth. Quiet, steady, unshakable growth. The kind that no one sees coming until one day you show up stronger, clearer, more focused, and people say, "Wow, you've changed." But they have no idea what you've been through. That's the reward of silence, strength without scars on display. So protect your struggles, heal in quiet, process in peace. Don't hand your pain to people who haven't earned the right to carry even a piece of your truth. And when you're ready, when the wound is no longer open, when you've turned the chaos into clarity, then you can speak. Then your story becomes not a cry for help, but a message of hope. That's how the wise live, with strength behind silence, with peace in their privacy, with power in what they choose not to reveal. There are certain parts of life that are sacred, and two of the most important are your family and your finances. A wise person understands that both of these areas, the people closest to you and the resources that sustain your life, are not meant for casual conversation or public analysis. They are too personal, too easily misunderstood, and too often used against you. Let's talk about family first. Your family, whether it's the one you were born into or the one you've chosen, is your foundation. And like any foundation, it needs to be protected from erosion. The truth is, no family is perfect. Behind every door, every smile, every group photo, there are stories that no one sees. There are arguments, history, sensitive dynamics, and things that simply don't belong in anyone else's hands. When you talk too much about your family's problems, you do more than just vent. You open a door for others to form opinions about people who can't defend themselves. You allow outsiders to judge a situation they weren't there for. Maybe you were angry at your brother one day and said something in the heat of the moment. But the person you told doesn't know your brother like you do. They don't see the full picture. They take your words and form an opinion. Later, when you've made peace and moved on, they're still holding on to the image you gave them. That's the danger. Wise people don't let temporary emotions lead to permanent consequences. They understand that loyalty doesn't mean hiding abuse or pretending everything is perfect, but it does mean knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It means protecting your family from gossip, judgment, and misunderstanding. Because once something is said, it can't be unsaid. Once someone sees your family through a negative lens, it's hard for them to unsee it, even if the situation changes. And it's not just the problems that need privacy. Sometimes it's the good things too. Your marriage, your children, your parents, your partner. These relationships are built on trust, shared moments, and vulnerability. When you constantly put them on display for approval, validation, or comparison, you risk turning something intimate into a performance. Not everything needs to be shared. Some moments are meant to be lived, not posted, not explained, not filtered through other people's opinions. Now let's talk about money, the other major area a wise person keeps private. Whether you have a lot of it, a little, or you're still trying to figure it out, one thing remains true. Your financial situation is your business. Nothing more, nothing less. Money has always been a sensitive subject because it's so often tied to judgment. People will assume things about your character, your intelligence, even your worth, based on what they think you have or don't have, and that's dangerous. If you tell people you're doing well financially, some will secretly envy you. Others will expect things from you. Some might even resent you. On the flip side, if you're struggling and you share that too widely, you might be judged as irresponsible, lazy, or unlucky, even if the full story is much more complicated. A wise person doesn't invite that kind of scrutiny. They don't need to prove their success, and they don't ask for sympathy when things are tight. They know that wealth is quiet. It doesn't need to be broadcasted. It shows up in how you move, not in what you say. And struggle, it's part of life, but it's handled with dignity, not drama. Keeping your financial situation private also protects your decisions. If people know how much you make or what you spend, suddenly everyone has an opinion. Why are you buying that car? Shouldn't you invest instead? You could have gotten that cheaper. These comments may sound casual, but they chip away at your independence. They make you second-guess choices you were confident about. A wise person doesn't allow that kind of noise to enter their decision-making space. They trust themselves. They move in silence. There's also a deeper truth here. Money and family are often interconnected. When you share too much about one, it impacts the other. Maybe you're supporting a family member financially. Maybe you're dealing with inheritance, debt, or a long-standing issue that's hard to explain. Sharing those details, even with friends, can backfire. People will judge your generosity, question your boundaries, or take sides in issues they don't understand. Silence, in these cases, isn't just wise, it's protective. Ultimately, both family and finances are areas where discretion isn't just recommended, it's essential. Because when people know too much, they talk. When they talk, they twist. And when they twist, the damage is often hard to repair. A wise person avoids that entirely by keeping those parts of their life behind a closed door, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Not because they're hiding something wrong, but because they're honoring something sacred. You don't owe anyone a detailed explanation of who supports you, who you support, how much you make, what you save, where your money goes, or what your family dynamics look like. You owe it to yourself and the people you love to protect those things with maturity and grace. Let your peace come from within, not from how others see you. At the end of the day, wisdom is not just about what you know, it's about what you keep to yourself. And nothing reflects that wisdom more than how you handle your family and your finances, quietly, respectfully, and always with intention. Let me know if you'd like the full speech assembled, adapted for a specific format like a video script or keynote, or if you want a summary or visual outline. At the heart of wisdom is restraint, the ability to know what to share, when to share it, and with whom. In a world obsessed with visibility, where everyone is shouting their goals, struggles, and private lives into the void of social media, the truly wise move differently. They walk quietly with purpose. They protect their goals because they understand that dreams grow best in silence. They guard their struggles because not everyone deserves access to their vulnerability. And they keep their family and financial matters sacred because those are foundations, not for public opinion, but for private growth. Wisdom isn't about being secretive, it's about being selective. It's about having the strength to stay silent when silence serves you better than applause or sympathy ever could. Because when you learn to keep the right things to yourself, you gain clarity, peace, and power. So as you move forward in life, don't be afraid to pull back. Don't feel pressured to explain, prove, or perform. A wise person knows what you don't say often speaks louder than anything you could. Let your results speak, let your growth show, and let your silence protect what truly matters.